going to do the store tomorrow. Gabe, are you with us? We think you just like decided to ditch out. Oh, here he comes.
I spent a lot of money on my stupid internet spectrum, if anybody's listening. And there's literally nobody on. Usually it's Blaze has got a class that he's on all day. Deborah's usually on something,
right?
At least interneting. She's in the store today. Maya teaches at UC at San Diego State, and she's usually teaching. She used to, actually, she's on live now. But there's like usually three of us streaming something.
Right.
I'm the only one on, so I shouldn't.
You shouldn't have been kicked
that's
off.
Enough of my grief.
Of your grief with Spectrum. Hey, tweet out to, because that's what they I don't know if Spectrum's watching Tea Time with Warwicks.
They should be.
Well,
they should be.
They definitely should be.
But anytime you tweet out that stuff, they hate the bad publicity. So they'll get back to you that way.
It's coming.
I know that's the problem though. It's too common.
Yeah.
I was just saying, I was at the store earlier today, and I can't, because I sat in on a San Diego Festival of Books. It was just a couple weeks ago. They did a recap meeting, and I had to. I was meeting somebody down there, and so I was just listening in on a meeting, and the connection's so bad down there. It's like, Nancy, I can't do this from down there. It's just like, because it's just too hard, and it's the worst thing is if we're all like freezing and.
Well, and you've dealt with technology over this time, and you've got it down now.
Got it down, baby. I taught myself so much for this old lady here. All right, there's some really good books that are out last week, this week, next week. We got some. The fall is hitting. It's hitting hard. There are some great pre-orders to do. I can't wait to hear what you all have to talk about, and I'll kind of supplement. If you talk about something that I like, I'll share that I like it, and maybe I'll bring something else new into the conversation. So I think that it's going to go Steve, Andrea, Tom, Gabe. So Steve, take it away.
I'll kick things off with a novel that's coming out tomorrow from an old friend, Colson Whitehead. If you can see this.
Yeah.
The new book is called Harlem Shuffle. And as you know, he's won just 2 Pulitzers at this point in his life for The Underground Railroad and The Nickel Boys, both which were incredibly brilliant for those who read those books. But he wanted to do something a little different after Nickel Boys, and that's Harlem Shuffle. And it's a heist novel. It's set in Harlem in the mostly in the 60s. It's funny in a lot of parts, and it's got a caper aspect. The main character is this guy named Ray Carney. He owns a furniture store, and he's trying to move up in the world and take care of his family. He's got a wife and kids, but on the side he kind of does some things that are not exactly legal. Colson always comes up with great first lines, and the first line of this book is Ray Carney was only slightly bent when it came to being crooked. And
that's great.
So he has a cousin who brings him some stolen stuff, and Ray knows a jeweler downtown that he takes it to, and all of this. But his cousin gets involved with some of the biggest hoodlums in Harlem, and they plan this huge heist of the Hotel Teresa, which is like the Waldorf of Harlem, and they need Ray to fence on this big score, and of course everything goes wrong, as they always do in a heist novel. So it's very clever. It plays out in a beautifully recreated New York in the 60s. It's a family saga masquerading as a crime novel. It's a morality play in a way. It's a social novel about race and power, but ultimately it's a love letter to Harlem. And it's from Colson, so it's just great.
It's great. Yeah, anything he writes is great. I mean, and people should go back to his old stuff, like the poker book. I can't think of
The Noble Hustle.
The Noble Hustle was fantastic. The one, everything he writes, Sag Harbor. If you're only used to Colson from Underground Railroad and Nickel Boys, read Harlem Shuffle, but then there's so much more to go back to.
He's got a rich backlist.
He does have a really good
Wonderful
backlist.
I read the first chapter this morning, and the first chapter is like a short story all on its own. It's so you get the feeling of Harlem in that time immediately, and I haven't even gotten to the heist part, but it's fantastic.
Yeah. And if you ever have the chance to see him live, he's incredible. I mean, he is
hilarious too. Right?
So when you talk about how funny he is, it's like you think he'd be like super, like very sophisticated. He is that too.
Yeah.
But he's so funny. He had 600 people at USD singing MacArthur Park in the Rain. Okay. I mean,
Wow.
I looked over at Adrian and I said, this is something you're never gonna have happen again. It was amazing. So anyway,
I have an earwig now, Julie.
yeah, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was pretty. It was a moment. That's why I miss live events for stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is, so Andrea, what do you got for us?
Thank you. Well, I just want to say that, Steve, that he is an American master and you're very lucky to be representing him. And he does all of us publisher people proud, right? So you may have remembered, you may remember this book, Late Migrations: A Natural History of Love and Loss. This was a bestseller, and it was a Read with Jenna Today Show book club. Well, that is from Margaret Renkl, and this is her new book that publishes tomorrow. That publishes tomorrow. It's Graceland at Last, Notes on Hope and Heartache from the American South. And it's $26 hardcover, and that's from Milkweed Editions, a great little nonprofit publisher from Minneapolis that do great work. And it's exciting that they got this next book from her. And Renkl is just an amazing New York Times columnist. And this book here collects 60 essays from over the past 4 years. And it's just a sparkling collection. And her profile just continues to skyrocket. It's just so great to see, how much attention she's getting from a whole host of readers and critics. Basically she her whole take is like each week she gives readers a dose of natural beauty and human decency and hope in the face of cynicism and despair, right from her home in Nashville. So I think that this is going to do very well. There are signed editions at Warwick's, even as we speak. And it's, I think, a great holiday gift. Now, it is not too early to think about holiday buying, my friends, because if you may have heard that there are supply chain issues in every industry, and publishing has not sidestepped that. So if you have a book on your list, pick it up now, and just squirrel it away for that loved one you want to give it to. So this is Graceland at Last, Notes on Hope and Heartache from the American South. $26 hardcover from Milkweed Editions, and that's Margaret Renkl, the great New York Times columnist.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Interesting that she's got a new one out. And you're so right, Andrea. And I know that people probably think we're playing, it's like, no, we're serious about the supply chain issues. And it's like, this is true. This is also true where pre-orders are going to be important, so that we can know what, if you see something, if we put a pre-order out there for like October or November, and it looks like something you might want to get, just pre-order it. And with Warwick's, if you get it and then you want to return it. We'll take books back, but better to get it, especially for the gift giving time. So there's my plug. All right, Tom.
All right. Well, and I was hoping we would avoid these supply chain issues.
I know.
in 2021. I thought that was so 2020, but
Right. Nope.
they have definitely let us know that it's going to be an issue. So
And I think it might be,
pre-order,
I think it might even be worse this year is what I'm hearing.
I think that's what I hear too.
Yeah. Because there's a lot more. Yeah. I've just heard it could even be worse than last year.
Well, and as you'll see, like from all the books we've heard about so far, there's so many great books this fall. We're going to be reprinting and fighting over space for the reprint.
Well, because that's what I heard. Because China, because whatever are offshore, they're bringing more back onto the continent, but that's so backlogged.
Right.
So there's just this backlog of everything. Oh, we lost Steve Atinsky. Speaking of internet issues, maybe yours aren't quite as bad. Gabe.
Well, so Steve had his master, Coulson,
right?
And I have mine, Lauren Groff, author of Matrix. It was out last week. I wasn't here last week, so. And I bet this is a book I will be talking about frequently over the next few weeks and months, because it's fantastic. One of my favorite books of the fall. So Lauren Groff. We started publishing her with Fates and Furies, her last novel, and then she did a collection of short stories, Florida. And so you never know what to expect from her. And I did not expect a historical novel about nuns in the 12th century, but maybe it says something about me. But if you tell me there's a book about nuns in the 12th century, I am in. I am going to read that book. So I was already interested, and she's taken a real life figure, Marie de France, who's known mostly for her poetry, a certain kind of poetry that she wrote. But the history of her life is very much, not known, very much in the shadows, which is perfect for a novelist like Lauren Groff to, take what's there and then create her own story around this character, this real life character. So Marie de France was from the court of Eleanor of Aquitaine, and she was, against her will, sent to an abbey. And so she spent the rest of her life, or at least according to Lauren Groff's telling, the rest of her life in an abbey. And she didn't want to be there at first, but gradually she becomes, this character grows into the role of running this abbey and creating a safe space for the women there, safe from the world around them. This is England. She came from France. Now she's in England. She keeps them safe, as well as from, in many ways, the church itself. So it's a feminist fable. Her prose is always filled with, it's incredibly powerful prose, and she doesn't push it too far, but she's definitely commenting on the world we're living in today. It's also, I like that it's a historical novel that's not long. It's powerful, it's short, it's surprising, but it's, it really propels you through the whole story, about power and lust and risk and obsession. We published it last Tuesday to absolutely rave reviews everywhere. The Atlantic reviewer called it her best book yet, or masterpiece. And she's always tackling big ideas, but through her novels and her characters. So this is going to show up on all the best of the year lists. Lauren Groff's Matrix, and there are some signed copies, I believe, still at Warwick's. Yeah. So
anything. Yeah. When like I said, you guys thought I was kidding at the beginning when it's like some powerhouses are coming, and
this is only the beginning.
This is only the beginning of the fall, and it is. And Lauren is just. She's a hoot. Anyway, follow her on Twitter. Oh yeah. She is just, I love her commentary. And Tom, you made a really great point, because sometimes historical fiction and historical novels, sometimes it's good if they're long and you get into it, but I love the ones where it's just like, just tell me, give me the points.
Right. And for me, I'm not a reader of those books generally. So right. I'm attracted to a brilliant writer like Lauren Groff, taking the broad outlines of a life and then creating her own version of that life rather than the exact biography of Marie de France.
Right, exactly, because it's like somebody would read that if they were interested in doing it. And Tom, you might want to know this. There's lots of comments coming in, and I'll get to most of them. But Donna is commenting that she loved Eternal by Lisa Scottolini.
Oh, great! Another historical novel. Very
historical novel. And that was a thick one, but it was like, but all of it was like, it was all necessary. So
exactly.
All right, Gabe. Last but not least on round one. I think I put think I put the thing on for you to share. Oh, why can't I hear you? You're not on. Gabe, we can't hear you, and it doesn't look like you're muted. No, we still can't hear you. Stephen Kaczynski's coming back in the room.
And the book looks so good, Gabe. We want to hear.
I know. How about if you go out, come back in, I'll go to Steve, and then we'll go to you. Okay. All right. So while we're waiting for Gabe to come back, though, I will read some of the other comments, Andrea, because I think some of these are your Beth Doherty. Hello, Beth. We always love you here. She said that Milkweed is actually in Minneapolis where she's at. And so is Grey Wolf. Is Grey Wolf you, Andrea?
No, no.
No. What about Coffee House Press and Midnight Ink? Are you those yours?
No, those
No.
those might be consortium.
Got it. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, here comes Gabe. Let's see if we can hear him now, and then we'll go to him while I wasted that little bit of time. So we'll see.
Minneapolis has sort of, it's an embarrassment of riches of small indie presses.
Yeah.
So,
They have a great reading community. Gabe, talk
Yeah.
to us. Can we hear you now?
Can you hear me?
Yep. So let's go to you. I didn't go to anybody else. So you go ahead and go.
What goes on when I leave? Goodness
Oh,
gracious.
we talk about you.
Yeah, yours are burning.
talking
Try to
about
get
you.
it quick.
Yep. Don't watch the replay.
Don't need to. My first share, as you saw, is a brand new novel from Simone de Beauvoir, written a bazillion years ago. And it's not one of those that was found in an attic somewhere. It's been floating around, and it is was never before published because it was perceived as being too intimate to publish, in the 40s and 50s. And but this is a fiction. It's a novel, and there seem to be a lot of parallels to her own life and to a friendship that de Beauvoir had with Zaza, they call her, somebody that she met when she was like 10 years old, who was from an affluent family, and they became fast friends and very intimate friends. So we these things come around once in a while. There was a Hemingway found, there's this and that found. The reviews and they come out and they're finished by somebody. They're usually finished by somebody that the estate finds acceptable. In this case, this is a fully finished, fully written novel by the author, and it's just translated by Sandra Smith. We have a forward introduction by Margaret Atwood, and the reviews have been really, really strong. Harper's Magazine has got a really beautiful quote there. Oprah Daily, it received like a Kirkus-starred review. There is it's amazingly well written. So I think it's a novel that deserves to get looked at. A lot of these things, I just sort of go, here we go. It's kind of exploiting the franchise and trying to milk another dime out of this, squeeze another dime out of that rock. But in this case, we actually have a really solid novel that was, like, as I said, fully realized by the author. And it was, it's time to take a good look at who she was. I think, as I said, there are a lot of parallels with her life and the relationship of these two women in the novel. They meet at 10, they grow close together, they come close and become very intimate. A lot of people think that before her main love affair of the ages, that Zaza was the impetus to her forming her sexuality, that perhaps without Zaza there would be no second sex. There's a great, I'm trying to find this quote that the New Yorker finishes their blurb with, in Inseparable, the distinction between friends and lovers, straight love and queer love pales before the difference between loving a friend who is alive and one who is dead, which I think is a really kind of blew my mind a little bit, that quote. Yeah. And I just thought it's, having read the book here, I think it really does justice to the seriousness of this novel. So, you've seen these before and you overlook them. you skip over them. This is, I think, something that you can stop and take a look at and get a good look at who Simone de Beauvoir. The Second Sex was her autobiography, pretty much. But I think this gives you further insight into who she was as a person and as an intellectual.
Yeah, you know, I read that New Yorker article and it really made me want to read this book because it was so full of those kinds of quotes, Gabe.
Right.
And I do find it interesting that this probably wasn't published just because Jean-Paul Sartre read it and he sort of dismissed it.
Right.
And there's reasons why he would dismiss it if he was feeling a little bit jealous of Zsa. You know, so
maybe not the prime influence, you know, kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I'm glad that it is being brought to publication now so we can make up our minds about whether or not, you know, it has a place in her, like, you know, a strong place in her canon, which I think it does. So
yeah, I was, like I said, I'm always skeptical. I've been doing this for a long time. You get a little bit skeptical of how things are kind of shoved down people's throats. But yeah, this is, you know, we didn't make a big deal about it, but it's a solid.
I was gonna say, but I think it's a big deal. But it does seem like it's a big deal.
Yeah, I think it's an important, like Andrew says, I think it's an important look at her overall and who she is.
For sure. I mean, it's like a great historical document. So I'm glad that you guys are bringing it to publication.
Okay, Steve. Round one kind of went a little long. We got round, but we
had
had
a little rocky.
A little rocky, technology. But whatever. We're a year and a half into this. Whatever. All right,
I remember
Steve.
dial-up. This is a treat. Come on.
That ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. Okay.
Ask Jeeves.
Back to me.
Okay, Steve. We digress. Okay.
Also coming out tomorrow from Joy Williams is Harrow.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And Joy Williams she's just one of those real writers. She's always gets incredible reviews, and she's was a runner-up for the Pulitzer for her novel The Quick and the Dead. And this is just a real dark vision, but comic in some ways, of America, where the warnings of the destruction of our environment have not been heeded. And it follows a young woman who journeys across America, and she's just seeing all this destruction and elimination of nature. And the Harrow that is just such a great image. It's just this machine that unearths everything in its way, and that's really the metaphor for what we've done to our planet. And the book takes place in the future. It's kind of the last gasp of this transition from a natural world to an all man-made environment. And it seems like the only group of people who seem to really care about this are old people. And the old people start doing little acts of terrorism, you know, as protests, and to try in the last gasp to stop this. So it's like I say, it's dark, but it's comical in a weird way. And the other central character is this 10-year-old boy. His name is Jeffrey. He's just a brilliant mind. And all he's done, it seems like, since a very young age, is study the law. That's all he's done. He reads just, you know, textbooks on the law and legal cases and things. And he ends up becoming kind of the judge for various crimes that are being committed in this very, very strange future that she's created. David Hewlin just gave the book an incredible review in the LA Times. I'll just read a tiny bit. A magnificent and moving novel that excavates, that's in quotes, the middle distance between silence and experience. Harrow is a piece of writing in the vein of Samuel Beckett or Franz Kafka. Its humor weaponized by rage. And that's from David Hewlin. So coming out tomorrow, Harrow from Joy Williams.
Wow.
That is an amazing
know.
David Hewlin blurb right there.
No kidding. Yeah, it's not that yours wasn't good, Steve, but
He doesn't give them out easily.
No, I mean, no, he's, he's a critic's critic.
Yes,
Well,
he
and,
is.
and both your books, Steve, I'm pretty sure were nominated today for the Kirkus Prize.
I
both-
haven't been paying attention.
I think
so-
both Joy Williams and Colson are nominated for the fiction prize, Kirkus Prize.
All
Wow.
right.
Wow.
that's a
All
big
right.
deal.
Nice.
Thank you, Tom.
And Amanda is in the background saying incredible cover art on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great cover. All right. I think we're going to Andrea next.
Yeah, thanks. Julie, if you want to hold up the book, I will hold up a facsimile here on my screen of Beneficence by Meredith Hall. This is a 1695 trade paperback
It's
Um,
so good.
from
It's
David.
it's so
Ye-
good.
Yes, and we'll talk about this after I do my little pitch. But
Okay.
this is from David R. Godine, and this book got lost in hardcover when it came out in hardcover because of the lockdown blues. And I'm just so happy that they came back with that gorgeous cover with a little step back. It's so pick upable, right? So like if you're in a store, you're gonna just go, "Ooh, what's this?" And this was an in-house favorite at PGW, and I'm sorry, not PGW, but at
Ingram.
Two Rivers, at
Sure.
Two Rivers and Ingram Publishers Services. And it's just beautiful and heartbreaking and a perfect book club group. And that's why there is a reading group guide included in the paperback. So that's something to think about, everybody. The reviewers and readers have called this literary historical novel hauntingly beautiful, a masterpiece of compassion, a page turner, and an artistic triumph. And basically, it's the story of one family who has to figure out how to come back after unspeakable tragedy to find the love and peace that how to regain that, because they're a very tight-knit family. And it's just stunningly good. The writing is amazing.
Amazing.
So
It's
good.
So good.
Yes. Now, author Danny Shapiro says it's a modern American masterpiece. Richard Russo, another fine American master, says if the word luminous didn't already exist, you'd have to invent it to describe Meredith Hall's radiant
Wow.
new novel. Yeah. Beneficence. And then Julie, our own Julie Slavinsky,
What did she say?
What did Julie say?
host of Tea Time with the Reps, says this book is simply superb. Each sentence is a treasure, and Meredith Hall has a new fan. I will read whatever she writes. Heart-wrenching, yes, but also life-affirming and hopeful. I was reminded of Emily Ruskovich's Idaho in Tone and Phil. Can't wait for what is next. So Julie, take it away. I know that you wanted to talk about this today too. So
there's a lot of good books out there. Today we're talking about great authors, great writers, but every once in a while a book comes across that just hits you it's a beautiful story. It's a tragic story. It's a beautiful story. The writing, I know we all talk about writing. Oh, the writing, her sentences are superb. I mean, they just are. It's fantastic. And it's probably one of the best books I've read in like 3 or 4 years, as far as just like, it just has it all. It just has it all. And I love this book. And
great.
I'm an evangelist for it. I was at the store today. I told you, I was like, this is it, everybody.
You hand sold 3 today.
I was like there for like 2 hours and I was like,
so
you need to buy this book.
Call up for the last couple of copies that are in the store and get that on order.
Who was the other person that you quoted? I'm there with Richard Russo or
Richard
somebody?
Russo and
Julie Slavinsky.
Danny Shapiro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you. And the Wall Street Journal has a really nice short blurb for it as well. I mean, it's getting great reviews.
It really did
across the
get
board.
lost. It really did get lost last year because this really is a really stunning piece of literature. It really
Yeah.
is.
And I mean, I'm telling you, I'm sorry. I mean, that cover,
Takes place
it's
in
not going to hurt the
Maine.
book.
No, and it is. It's one of those. It's one of those. Godin does do a really good job of their trade paperbacks are an object to hold too. They do a good job. Okay, enough beneficence.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad to see it be rediscovered in
Yeah, that was good.
paper.
In paperback,
yes.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they did a good
Okay.
job with that package.
Tom.
Okay, so my book is Nathaniel Philbrick's Travels with George, out tomorrow. So Matrix was out last week, so that's available today, but this will be out tomorrow. Subtitle is In Search of Washington and His Legacy. So Nathaniel Philbrick, of course, is the author of In the Heart of the Sea, Mayflower, many just great books of history. And he's just finished a American Revolution trilogy, but he'd never really written about Washington. He's never really gone right at Washington, and he doesn't do it directly here either. But it's kind of the perfect book. It's a delightful departure for him and for any historian. He's so when George Washington became president in 1789, the U.S. was a collection of.
Oh wait, we lost you. Oh, we can't hear you now. Can you hear him? Keep going.
Was a collection of these colonies that were quarreling, they were divided. It was a political experiment. And so what Washington did was to go himself, take a tour of the ex-colonies to talk to the citizens about what the idea of this government was going to be, and try to bring to the states, these new states, that they were Americans, that there was a larger entity, not just it's the same divide we're still having today. So Philbrick a couple of years ago decided to take the same trip that Washington did, and he did it with his wife Melissa and their dog Dora. So there's a sly nod to Steinbeck's Travels with Charlie here. So together, he goes from Mount Vernon to New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and then south, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all these places that Washington visited. So he's telling both the 18th century story and what he finds today in those places, as we face, in some ways similar, but also very different kind of divide. And so ultimately, I feel like this is a book we need right now because it's hopeful. It gives you, but he does still grapple with Washington, the slave owner, and what that means. And he's doing it at a time when, he's doing this traveling at a time when monuments are coming down to people like Washington. So that's all in the book. But it's also kind of just a delightful travel read as well as history. It's kind of got it all. So I hope that lovers of Nat Philbrick and history, books like this, will come to Travels with George.
Yeah, and I think that it's more people need to read history to have a context of where we're at and from where we come.
And because he points out in the book, like it is bad right now, the partisan, how divided we are, but it was worse then. Right. And it's important. It is important to hear that and think about that.
It is, and that's like I always go back to John Meacham, and he came for the book Soul of America, and one of the first things he said when he got up to speak at the store, which you could hear a pin drop when he was talking. I just adore him, but he said, "We've seen worse, throughout our history. I mean, started this from the start, and throughout there has been worse. So we just have to remember that. Everybody thinks that it's just like this microcosm that we're in right now. It's bad. Don't get me wrong, it's bad, but
it is amazing how we're grappling with many of the same issues that Washington was trying to grapple with at the time of the founding.
So I think that that's something important for people to know. And it's just like, and you want to, we're lots of, the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, the rise and fall of, we must learn from history.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or we're doomed to repeat it.
All systems end in entropy. So we're like on the other side of that. We're
I
on the
think
other side of that.
I think we are.
I just think I mean, we've been separate before, but we've never been so insanely. Well, maybe we were. I remember the 60s.
Right. Well, I
And
don't know
we
that there's ever been such an attack on truth.
Right.
And knowing what truth is. And I think
Right.
that's where it's a really dangerous, like, that's, I think, where the danger's coming from.
Yeah.
It's like
I
nobody.
mean, I'm seeing people talking about fact checking as a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know?
It's
Yeah,
like,
true.
wait a minute.
You know, it's like a bad word in fact checking. It's like,
Yeah.
people get triggered when you say, yeah, I mean, you kind of want to know the truth. And it's just, and then it's free speech, hashtag free speech.
Yeah.
So I can say anything, no matter how
It's-
ridiculous and stupid.
And
So
thank you,
it's-
thank you, social media, for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did my
Yeah,
own
it's just-
research.
Yes.
But
those
you know
are
what? These
the
people have
worst
been
words
among
in the
us.
English language, those.
Yeah.
All right, we're totally digressing on that. Sorry.
Let's get back to Nat Philbrick and
Nat Philbrick,
George.
love him, George. Going back, let's read some history. I think history is a good place to go. So, Gabe?
I have been wanting to talk about this book for so long. There's so much good stuff to say about Snowflake by Louise Nealon. She published a really well-received short story when she fresh out of college. She's currently like 28, maybe, I think. And she got a really great reviews on the short story, which prompted some representation, which prompted her to write this novel, which has been really well received in Ireland and all over the UK. And now it's come to the US. And, it's one of those books that you like root for. It's one of those, she's an author who was really young. She's went to Trinity. She got her degree. She's a writer. She wrote this sort of not quite autobiographical novel by any means, but she does write about basically the bones of the novel is this young woman, Debbie, who gets admitted into Trinity. She grew up in a farm, a dairy farm 40 miles from Dublin. And so she's really close to Dublin, and but a million years away as well. And she gets admitted into Dublin, and she has got this really great voice. She's got this really great sense of humor. There's little toss aside comments like, she grew up in a place where it's socially acceptable to be an alcoholic as long as you don't get treatment for it, things like that. So it's this world of it's a really rural farm, really rural world she lives in. Her mother claims she doesn't know who Debbie's father is. Her uncle Billy lives in a caravan or trailer, a mobile home in the back of the property, and he's a little bit insane. He's always, writing, imitating authors online and doing dead authors online. There's some trouble, and mom believes in all these new agey, kind of beliefs, and she's not quite here either. So we have this character who is a fish out of water in Trinity, and you expect, there's some really good scenes in Dublin and on campus, and she's definitely a fish out of water. She's like not impressed at all by Trinity. Everybody's kind of like the same, and everybody is kind of like, there's like nobody's thinking out of the box, or all sort of think they're thinking out of the box, but they're really in this really straight line doing what everybody else does. So she's not really comfortable there. And honestly, the best parts of this novel are when she's on the farm with her family, and you've got these great characters that are coming at you at 100 miles an hour. And we see mental illness played out. It's a serious novel as well. So it's the thing I most loved about this book is that it's not pretentious at all, but it's really smart. And I read so many things that come out of these little, precious MBA programs, and they all have the same flavor. They all smell the same pretty much. Or I've dealt with, worked for a long time in this biz with authors who write genre stuff, and now they think they're going to step out of it, and they write really good genre stuff, and they're going to go write a Pulitzer Prize winning novel, and they're not going to quit until they, and they're working really hard at it. And Louise Nealon, this 27-year-old, just picked up a pen, picked up her computer, and just knocked off this really terrific novel that's super smart, and it's intergenerational, so she goes up and down, and the voices are all very authentic. Just so much good stuff in this novel. I could go on and on, so I'm going to stop. But take a look at it. Irish writers, as we mentioned before, are having a moment. Irish writers, took the English language that was forced down their throat by the Brits, and now are just waving it in their face with their brilliance. And I just love this author. I love this novel, and I just can't wait. I hope that she's got one of those Harper authors that we see for forever at Harper.
I need that one, Gabe.
What's
Yeah,
that?
that sounds great.
I need that one.
I think I may have some galleys left.
All right.
I'll pass them on. I
Pop
got
one
everybody's
over
address.
to me. Okay, Gabe, pop that one over to me. I love Irish writers, and it's like you said, it's just like that she could just pick it up and just start writing it. Those are my favorite because it's just like I love that. So
You got a gift.
thank you. Thank you. All right, lightning round. Everybody popped on and off. I think I've forgotten the order, but I think it's going to be Steve. So
Yeah, it is. It's me.
Steve, lightning round.
It's me. For the lightning round pick, I've got.
Oh,
Oh
it
no.
This book came out last week. I don't know if you can read it,
Yep.
but because it has a light cover anyway. It's from Atticus Lish. It's The War for Gloria. He's a Penn Faulkner winner for his debut, which was Preparation for the Next Life. I didn't read that, but from what I've read about it, it was a very tender and gripping story about fathers and sons and regrets and redemption. And this is another look at father and son relation, not just that, but this is really a book about toxic masculinity. And it's not an easy book to read. It's a really, really good book, but not an easy one to read. And the main character is this kid called Corey. He's 15. He grows up in the outskirts of Boston. His mom is Gloria, and she's a single mom. At the beginning of the book, the dad is not in the picture. But when the mother comes down with ALS, this kid is going to do everything he can to save his mom. And when his father comes back into the picture, the father is really a bad person. He's just a really bad guy, and there's just a mystery about him and what his past is. And Corey is just looking for some male model to help him, and he looks in all the wrong places, it seems. This is really gritty and visceral and profound. Like I say, it's just a really, really great novel about toxic masculinity. That's the only way I can describe it. It's been getting really strong reviews, as I expected it would. He's just a really good writer. I'll say it again, this was not an easy book for me to read, but it was really good,
I love it though, but sometimes those hard ones are like the best. I mean, they have the best like message,
Yeah, some
they
of
stick with
my
you,
other
too.
reps have compared it to A Little Life,
Okay.
and in some ways, but it doesn't have the sort of that kind of love bond that the four boys had, or four men had in A Little Life. This one is,
but maybe it was so, but maybe what they're saying is that because The Little Life was such an impact. I mean, it like hit you, and so that may be the same thing that this is it just like
yes,
it hits
and there's
you.
some horrible things that happen, and that you just grimace to have to read through.
Yeah, I can read, but as long as it's not in a movie, I can read just about anything. Can't watch it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and also Atticus Lish has a storied pedigree. His father, Gordon Lish, is the legendary editor who brought us
Carver.
Yeah, Raymond Carver, and and a lot of other people. And I mean, how, like, that takes a lot of guts to follow in, daddy's footsteps into a very narrow, industry, really. And and he made it. So that's like, hats off.
And Steve, this is published by Knopf, right?
Yes.
Which was where Gordon Lish was an editor. Yeah.
Oh,
because we don't have time, Julie, I'm sure, but as a young kid in publishing, I worked outside of at Knopf, I worked outside of Gordon Lish's office. So I have stories, but I'll have to share them another
Oh,
time.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
love to see. This is all the little kismet that you don't get
Yeah.
from some other places. This
That's
is
right.
behind the scenes, man.
Well, and one of my books from one of my small publishers is Gordon Lish has, and and he's up there now, like
He was
89 or
up
something.
there then, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 89 or 91 or something like that. And he has a collection of short stories out from Dezank books. So he's still in the mix, everybody.
Wow.
And thank God he sired Atticus and gave us this new book. So sired.
Fired.
I love to use that.
And
I love to use that. I mean, no one, it's kind of rare these days.
that you get to
Sired.
use it in a context of a conversation. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I find it a little patriarchal, but that's just me.
Ooh, ouch. Well, and about toxic masculinity there too.
It's
So,
Yeah, well,
There we
just
go.
saying.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's always there's always irony. And of course, irony can be a stick of dynamite in the hands of the imbecilic. So you got to watch out.
I love you.
Okay. So
Take it
I want
away.
to talk about Listified. This is from Britannica Books, and they have brought another amazing another winner to the kids category. And it's Britannica's 300 lists that will blow your mind. And this is 1999. It's 416 pages, a big book, as you can see, 11 by 7. So that's a great price, right? For this huge book. And I just think that this is going to do well for the holidays and beyond. So it has all sorts of lists, very interesting for kids. Including stars, dinosaurs, volcanoes, sharks, bones, bicycles, treasures, inventions, rainbows, robots, rainforests, snowflakes, insects, planets, machines, and more. And the thing I like about Britannica Books, and it's not, dad's or, sorry, Gabe, grandma's or mom's old, Britannica encyclopedia. They really have updated everything. And, kids love these sorts of things. And I really think that they kind of disguise book learning and education with how cool their lists are and their packages. I'm just trying to, this is, here's a cool, look at the sarcophagus.
Mummies.
Yeah, mummies. But they do cool things like a whole section on hats. I'm trying to find the cool, there's a whole list on invisible things that are magnified. And it's a great picture of a spider, a jumping spider. And it's really beautiful. And I would want to have one as a pet. Here it is.
No.
Look at this.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
No, you
Isn't that crazy?
Stop it.
That has been let's see, it's been magnified 40 times.
Oh.
But it's just that kind of stuff, and kids love this stuff. And like I said, it just is really just sort of disguised. It just sneaks up on kids and they don't know that they're learning about stuff and they're having fun. So once again, that's Listified, Britannica's 300 lists that will blow your mind. It's $19.99, and that is already out. So it's in stores.
Okay.
So it's in the kids sections at Warwick's.
Perfect.
Okay. And
Excellent.
thanks so much. And Gabe, I hope that you're I'm joking, my friend.
No, it
I
was
was
great.
dumbstruck.
But I love Beth, who always watches us, she goes about what you guys were talking. She goes, I love these calls.
The gloves come off sometimes, man.
Man, it's
gloves
always
come off.
something good happening here. So
We've been-
Beth, we love that you love us.
We've been
Well,
rumbling.
Yeah, I mean, and we've known each other for a long time, so we all
A
love each
long
other.
time. A
And you know
long
what's
We love
kind of
each
fun?
other.
I mean, even though it's like you see each other at like you know, Kalima stuff or whatever, it's like these are fun because you guys really don't get together that much. So this has been really
We used
fun.
to run across into each other in
Yeah.
different cities in the old days for some
Right.
reason. We'd run across each other. You'd have lunch together because
Yeah,
you'd
because you're
be
in the same city or
neighborhood. But
something.
Yeah, it
lately,
doesn't
it's-
happen anymore.
we're so busy. I'm so busy all the time. It's like I'm running
Yeah.
from one place to the next place. And
Yeah. So this has been kind of fun having you
This is
guys
the only
on
time we
all of
really
this.
get to dig at each other. And,
I love it.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Tom.
Okay,
Man, our lightning round has been longer,
I
I
know.
think, than our regular round.
but we digress. So my book is Cry Macho. So this is by N. Richard Nash. It is a rediscovery. So this is kind of fun. Originally, it's got a great publishing history. It's originally published in 1976 by N. Richard Nash, who at
Wow.
the time was a playwright. He'd written The Rainmaker, which I think was a play, but then a movie with Burt Lancaster. And he wrote a screenplay called Cry Macho. And then it was bought, but never made. And he's like, I'm going to write a novel based on my screenplay. So this is the novel. But the screenplay, as you may know, so almost 50 years later, Clint Eastwood has made Cry Macho, this book and screenplay, into a movie, which is out on it's in theaters and then on HBO Max on Friday. And it's a screenplay that has been like at various times. Clint has always been kind of attached to it, but I think Burt Lancaster was supposed to be in it at one time, maybe Robert Mitchum.
wow.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was supposed to do it in the early 2000s, yes. And finally, Clint Eastwood, who's 91 maybe or
Yeah,
two.
so, yeah.
He's like, what about that old script that, and then they pull it out and they made it. So this, it's kind of fun there are readers for this book. So it's a classic Eastwood character. Mike was once the best writer in the circuit, but now, he's divorced, hard living. He's down on his luck. He's got a boss who sends him on one last job, which is to go cross into Mexico and kidnap the boss's son because the boss is involved in a divorce. Anyway, you can imagine what happens. 91-year-old Clint, or probably less, he's probably younger in the book, forges a relationship with this boy, Mexican boy, as they cross back. Unlikely friendship, all that stuff, but it's definitely a valedictory film for Clint Eastwood, I'm sure. But the book will have readers, if you like true grit, news of the world, even Craig Johnson, and these books don't get published that much anymore.
Right.
Some, but
Some
not that
do,
much.
but yeah.
Yeah, so it's and Richard Nash was a really good writer. It's just a book that's fallen out of it had been out of print really for decades. And then you may wonder, like, where's Clint on the cover? But because Hollywood is Hollywood, like we were going to do like a movie tie-in with Clint on whatever the image is. But then they decided to rush the movie. It was supposed to come in October. Now, then they rushed it in September, and they don't give you the movie art. And anyway, this is as much as we could do in time to get it out for the movie. So it's out tomorrow, I think, and the movie's out on Friday. So
we need to get that into Tammy's hands.
Oh,
Tammy,
good.
that
Perfect.
is you're gonna be at the store tomorrow.
I'll bring
right?
it to the store tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put Tammy's name on it because that sounds
100%.
like it's absolutely her cup of tea.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. All right, Gabe, wrap us up, man. We're coming on an hour, man. We are.
I gotta wrap it up. I gotta be fast because I gotta blow like the
You
wind
gotta
here.
blow, baby.
Got stuff to do. So a lot like Adios by Alexis Daria, not the kind of book that you expect to see a Starred Publishers Weekly, a Starred Library Journal, a Starred Kirkus Review, and a Starred Book List reviews for. I mean, when Colson Whitehead writes a book, he might get 3 out of 4, maybe 4 out of 4, but sometimes 3 out of 4. Barbara Kingsolver, Louise Erdrich, these masters, these are pre-pubs, professional reviewers that do this for a living, and they may get, but Alexis Daria in her second book, she gets the full boat. So it's essentially it's a rom-com. I don't really talk about rom-coms, but they're definitely having their moment. It's a long moment. This is our BIPOC multicultural. We threw the first one out, and honestly, I didn't pay a lot of attention to it because I'm like, okay, So we're going for this now, which is cool. And you know, the Hallmark Channel has people of color on now in their movies and stuff. So I'm like, good, we're moving forward. And it's another one of those rom-coms. And man, the reviews are great. The sales have been amazing. They are selling really, really well. They're pretty well written, you know, and she just takes you away. You get into these worlds. This is a novel about Gabe and Michelle, who were buddies in high school. Gabe moves away to the West, becomes successful, and one day they are thrown together, just like in the Hallmark Channel, man. It is exactly that pace. And like the response is amazing. So I think people should know about it. It's not just people of color buying these things. So it's Latinos, and it is a cast of characters, mom, dad, crazy families, and a lot of fun.
It's so, I mean, I love it. And like you say though, Gabe, you know, all kinds of people are buying books like that now. I mean, it's
There are
just,
a lot of readers. Yeah.
there's a lot of readers, and they're fun, and when they're well done like that, it's really fun when they're, you know,
I'll start reviews.
yeah. So
And a main character named Gabe, apparently.
yeah,
You know, a
I
lot
know, I
of
like it.
handsome leading men.
Oh my
in
God!
novels.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm stopping
don't you
the
have to go? I
recording
think you have to
now.
go. We have to go.
Yeah, it's been nice seeing you all. Donna, thank you. Thank you for sticking with us, Donna. Donna said, very enjoyable night. Thank you all. It was a little different today. We got a little plan. We got all kinds of stuff going
Yeah.
on. So, but happy reading, everybody.
Come see me tomorrow at the store if you're
I
local.
won't, yeah, people who are out there, come and see Tom. He'll be there.
Not
We're
Julie,
going to
I
have
guess.
our first, so we've done a copy with the booksellers. Then we've got our first in-store event will be next week. But we also have Queer Eye Antonio's event is on Wednesday, so still time to sign up for that. Check out our website. There's lots of good events happening. Anthony Dorr will be here in a couple weeks. So great reading, such great books this week. Thank you guys and ladies. And we will see everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye all.
Everybody.
Bye.